Hello, welcome to HCR Garage. I am Henry. Now on this channel we have been restoring, modifying, engine swapping this MGB for the last, 9 months or so. And we've made massive progress and we've achieved so much. In the last episode we painted this whole engine bay, painted the engine, made everything look really nice. So now I need to start getting on with all the little ancillary stuff to make this engine run. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to try and make a fuel system. Now, a fuel system from a carburetor engine to a fuel injection engine is slightly different, which I will go into in this episode. But yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's rip straight into trying to make a fuel system for this MGB Jaguar V6 engine conversion. Now, I've kind of made this drawing to try and help you understand why I need to change the fuel system and kind of how I'm going to do it. I'll put this on in a digital format later on in the video when I refer to it, but I just thought I'd show you the hard copy for now. So to start off with a carburetor engine. So a carburetor engine is a low pressure fuel system. It just needs a fuel pump, a fuel filter, and it fills a bowl with the carbs, and the carbs take as much as they need from the bowls. Really simple. You can put pressure regulators and stuff on this system, but let's not worry about that for now. A fuel injection EFI system is slightly more complicated because it needs a constant pressure to the fuel rail. Now, to achieve that, I am going to take the original MGB fuel line coming out here. I'm going to put on the outlet of the pump, I'm going to change to an AN6 fitting, and I'm going to run that through a 100 micron filter. So you initially filter it into the swirl pot, which is here. So you fill up a swirl pot with the low pressure system with an overflow back to the tank, which I think I'm going to put in the filler neck. And then you have a swirl pot with a high pressure fuel pump, which sends fuel through a 10 micron filter, through a pressure regulator to a dead-ended rail. Now you can run an open-ended rail and change where this pressure regulator returns the fuel back to the swirl pot. Basically, there's two loops. There's a low pressure loop and a high pressure loop. And to achieve this, I've bought loads of 6AN fittings or AN6 fittings, fuel pump, a swirl pot, a pressure regulator, all the stuff I need, hopefully, to make this work, which I'll show you now. As you can imagine, the planning involved for doing this when you've never done it before is quite daunting. I had to kind of think about how I'm going to do it and what the best locations of place for things were and all that type of stuff. So that's been going on in the background whilst I've been doing all the other stuff on this car. And I think I've got most of the other ancillary kind of stuff in my head kind of worked out. So like a clutch and a cooling system and all that type of stuff, which I still need to figure out. But for the fuel system, I've gone for a swirl pot where the second battery would have fitted, which I'll show you. Now, a lot of this episode is going to be me inside the car, which I can't get very good lighting and camera angles on and stuff. You're going to have to bear with me. I have bought this swirl pot, which fits perfectly into here. He says, there you go, like so. You can see down there, it's a perfect fit. And I can move that a little bit around in there wherever I need to. So I'm going to have a fuel line from the fuel pump coming in, an overflow going out to the tank, which would be easiest just drill into the tank. I don't want to. I'm going to run a line to the filler neck, I think, or somewhere. Maybe if there's a little drain point on the tank or something, I can do that, but we'll see. Then from the pump, which I have somewhere in my boxes of stuff, I'm going to put a fuel filter up here somewhere from the pump, and then underneath the car on this side to the bulkhead, where I'm going to run it up this corner here and have my fuel regulator here. Well, that is the plan anyway. Now, there's lots of firsts and news in this. I've never made a fuel system. I've never done AN fittings. It's all very new to me, but I'm hoping that you're going to learn at the same time as I'm going to learn. So I need to organise myself. I think the first job is to clean up those battery trays and kind of make them look really nice, ready to install all these new parts on them. So I'm going to get on with that. Oh, so it's quite awkward to film actually. I've cleaned this up, which I'll show you in a minute, and I've located this where I think it's going to be good, but I just needed to make up this little filter kind of assembly that I've put together. So it's just a Bosch filter, 8 micron, and it's just a cheap kind of aluminium holder. And I bought a sleeve made out of foam just to pad out this filter a little bit, because none of the holders I could get were the right size. So that's how it's going to be. So now I need to find a place for this to mount where it kind of makes sense, if you know what I mean. Whether it might be better on this back wall here. Originally I thought about doing it here, but that means I'll have to take the filter out if I want to like change anything else, and the pipe would have to be wrong. So I think the best kind of route is to mount that up here or down there a little bit, and then it can come straight out and into there. So that's my kind of setup at the moment. I need to drill some holes to mount that properly, but that is nice and secure. Now I've got this filter here, which I was thinking I wanted to mount it somewhere like here or whatever. And obviously I could mount it in the engine bay. It doesn't really matter where this is on the line, it just needs to be somewhere. I think like that is going to be my best option. So I'm going to get about mounting that and that semi-permanently, because I want to take it all out and paint everything nicely once I've done that. Right then, those two are kind of roughly fitted in place, sorry. The filter there, and I can go straight out with a 90° at the bottom of that, down the car, and I should be able to find those points there by going through these various holes and things. I put some studs and just bolted them in basically for now. It's not going to stay like that. I will properly do it at some point. Just realised I'm missing my fuel regulator. I ordered it a while ago. I assumed it had turned up with all the other parts. It hasn't, so I'm going to chase that. If not, I'll just run the fuel hoses without an end to the front of the car and kind of get them roughly in place and then do that another day. I was hoping I had all my parts, but obviously sometimes when you're ordering so much like I am at the moment, you kind of miss one of them. So the next step, I think, is to jack the back of the car up as high as I can and sort out the low pressure side of the kind of fuel system. So I'll put the diagram up on the screen now to kind of remind you what that is. That involves disconnecting the old fuel line as well, and I might try and pull that whole fuel line out. So let's get the jack round to the back, jack the car up, get it on some axle stands, and we can probably take the driver's side rear wheel off as well, because that'll give us more access. I can get back underneath the car where I love to be and start figuring all this out. Right, the car is now jacked up, on axle stands, etc. So I can start looking at my options. So there's the original fuel pump there. That line on the right is the hard line. So I need to take that through to that swirl pot. So I need to undo that banjo fitting there. I think take that whole fitting out actually, because I have got something that goes into this bit here. We can kind of figure out, maybe go through that hole there or through the back here, but then we've got to watch out for the actual drive shaft and stuff. So I think that hole there will be the best, but we will see. So I'm going to quickly whip that off. Hopefully not get fuel everywhere, because the fuel tank's now the highest point. Although I'm pretty sure it's quite empty. So yeah, let's get that off. So I'm going to do that tomorrow now. Some night shifts last night and I've got no energy whatsoever. So I think it's time to call it a night. We got some stuff done. We've kind of mounted some bits and bobs, got the car up and stuff. It's a start, especially after night shift. So tomorrow, after a good night's sleep, I will come in and be able to hopefully make loads more progress while my brain's kind of engaged. So I'll see you then in a few seconds' time. Good morning, I am back. I definitely feel better than I did at the end of yesterday. I just, you know, when you just can't think because you're just so tired, it's just no point. So I thought, let's give up and come at it with a fresh head tomorrow. So that's what I'm doing. I'm here now. I thought I forgot to show you what else I've done to the engine bay actually. I put up a little post up on YouTube to show, but I thought I'd show you on the video as well. Obviously, those that watched last week, I painted this engine bay. I've put in the fan motor kind of temporarily, and I've taken all the tape off that, and I also installed the steering rack again. Now that that's black, that doesn't look as green as it did before. I still might paint it black, but it's not top of my priority list right now. I think that looks quite good. I also had a little look at my fuel rail, and it's meant to have a fuel pressure sensor there, but it's not got one. It's like the last person changed it to put the fuel in here, which is a possibility. I might have this the wrong way around actually, but it has gotten in and out by doing it that way, so I might have to revise my plan a little bit, but we'll see. So let's actually do what I said I was going to do yesterday. Disconnect that line from this fuel pump. Probably disconnect it here and leave the hard line in place just for now, and I'll rip that out another day. It's got a Jubilee clip here, so let's have a little bit of a closer look, and it actually has in and out on it. So it's not the one I said, it's the one to the left with the Jubilee clip. So that's the one I'm going to undo now. So there you go, that's in there. Now I haven't got any of the special spanners, so I'm going to end up marking these a little bit, but it is what it is. I'm not going to spend 70 quid, 80 quid on a set of aluminium spanners. I'm not that bothered. But that is in. I've put some PTFE on this one because I couldn't understand how it's sealed, because it goes all the way down. So I don't think that will harm it anyway. So now I've got to get like a right angle on this into that. Let's see what I mean. This is really tricky to film. To that hole there, can you see it? I want to go through that. So I need to make a hose up that goes from that point there with the right angle through that hole into here and through where when this was two 6-volt batteries, where the other kind of joining electrical cable would have gone. I'm going to take it through there to that swirl pot. Now, I've never used these type of fittings before, so I've just had to do a load of research on how to do them. So this is a nylon kind of hose, which has got a, it looks like rubber, but it's not. It's like it's not PTFE. It's nitrile kind of rubber tube in it, so it's compatible with all types of fuel and stuff. I've double checked all that. But it's just a push fit. It's not got an olive or anything, so you don't need to spread apart the outer kind of casing of the hose or anything. So that's what it looks like. Basically, inside here, just like a wedge there. So you put that on there, all the way up to the little collar that's inside. So that'll fit on there like that, and then basically that goes inside the tube. And if you can imagine, as that's pushed in, it clamps against that and it seals against that face there just by the kind of the crushingness of that tightening on. So that's how I'm going to be making up these hoses. I've got these kind of jaws in the vise to hold everything. So I need to start measuring up for the hose that runs from the pump to the swirl pot. Now that's not easy, but that's one hose made up. I found using tape when you cut, because the ends want to fray, just to keep everything together. Now, I still need to add a filter into this, but I've not got the filter at the moment, so I'm going to assemble it without it, and then I'll obviously have to cut this and put 2 straights in and connect to my filter when it comes to it. Let's try and offer this up to the car and see what it looks like. I've managed to loop that through that hole there, down there. And it's out here. So I should be able to connect that up. I think I need to put an O-ring inside there as well. And then I can connect that up and see what it looks like. These AN hoses are a little bit more tricky than I thought they were going to be. I thought it was going to be a case in your head where you just think, oh, I'll just make those lines up and it'll be done. And it'll take no time whatsoever. But actually getting them into places where it's a bit tricky, like that fuel pump, you can't really get a spanner on it very well. I've managed to do it, but I'm starting to revise my original plan of getting everything in, taking it back out again, painting everything up and all that type of stuff, because I don't want to be taking them in and out more than I need to, because it's tricky and it's just really time consuming. So that line's in. I think I'm going to leave that there now. So I'm going to take that swirl pot out, take the fuel filter off, paint up that kind of bit where it all sits in, where the old battery would have gone when it ran 2 6-volt batteries, which MGB is used to. This one's been converted to a single 12-volt. I'll get it all prepped and then we will make all the rest of the lines up, I think. That's that coming out of the fuel pump through that hole. It goes through there, and then we'll connect to that far one over there. So let's take off that filter, take off the swirl pot, and clean everything up again and paint it all. And then we should be able to kind of mount all our lines without having to take everything back off again. So that looks okay, but obviously now that's got to dry, which will take a little while with that paint. I thought with it being open to the elements, it's better to use the stone chip style paint than just painting it. So let that dry. Now I've got to talk about my fuel return. So if you look over to here, it's going to come from the swirl pot back to the tank, and I've got it in here, which is the filler. Now I could have like come back into the tank or wherever, but I think that's going to be the easiest bit, so I don't have to actually drill the actual fuel tank or take it off or whatever, because at the end of the day all it needs to do is return fuel, and the swirl pot itself is at the same level, so it shouldn't have to push or anything like that. It's just an overflow somewhere for the fuel that can't go through the fuel pump, which is there, so the rail, it's got somewhere to go basically. So the idea is I'm going to weld this AM fitting to here like that. I need to drill a hole and then weld her up. I'm going to cut my losses today and yeah, call it a day in the garage for now, because I need to go to the shops and get some welding wire and gas and things anyway. Yeah, not very successful today, but hopefully we can have a more successful day tomorrow and the next day and stuff and get this done. I only thought this would take 1 day, to be honest, to put the fuel lines in and stuff, but because I'm having to do all this other stuff, it's taking a little bit longer, which is annoying. But anyway, I will see you in the morning. Good morning. I was at a wedding last night and I had quite a lot to drink. So I'm a little bit fuzzy this morning, but that's not going to stop us cracking on. I feel like this episode is not quite going to plan. I seem to only be able to get a few things done and then I'll have to wait for stuff to dry or parts to arrive or something. A part to repair the brake line at the front, which if you watched a few episodes ago, you realise I snapped when I was getting in and out of the car. So all I've done is join that together, put a little joiner in. I did order all the new brake lines and stuff, but I don't think it's worth the time. Maybe I will do at some point, but I think they look all right, to be fair. They need a little bit of a clean up, but there's no point replacing stuff that isn't broke. So that's just a joiner. So obviously the more joins in the system isn't great really, but as long as that seals, then it should be fine. So we'll test that when we come to bleed the brakes again at some point. That little compartment that I painted yesterday is now dry, so I can properly bolt everything in and we can kind of start properly making up all the lines now. So that's the plan today. Make up some lines and then I can weld that little bung onto the filler neck and we can make that line up as well then. I'll show you what it looks like in here. You can see all nicely painted. Those are the holes where it all bolts down to. I've got my one line going to the original MG fuel pump, which is down there. Now this line here I will attach to the top of the transmission tunnel at some point. I think it'll be worth it just so that it's not in danger of hitting the prop shaft. So I'm going to get my swirl pot and my filter and everything mounted in properly, proper bolts, and then we can go from there really. Right, that was awkward, but it's in. I've put it the other way around. Definitely not by accident. It'll work and I'm not taking it back out. It actually fits better that way anyway, so it was on purpose. I did it on purpose. So yeah. I put these little adapters in as well. So that's 6 AN fittings to there as well. Little O-ring on. So it's a nylon style kind of push fit connection. So yeah, now I'm going to get the fuel pump in. So it has an O-ring that goes in a little groove in there, and then it clamps on with a little retaining ring. But before I do that, I've got to put the fittings on. So here's the fitting. I put some PTFE kind of tape around this bit, and that screws in there, and that's a banjo fitting for this banjo here, which is going to point towards the fuel filter. So I don't think you need to see me tighten that up, so I'm going to tighten that up, and then the next thing you'll see is me installing it into the car. Well, that's starting to look like a fuel system, isn't it? Now I need to make a pipe from, or a hose from the fuel pump to the fuel filter. So a nice little one. So I'll quickly mock that up and install it. I got that wrong. I got that very wrong, didn't I? Oh, right, take two. That looks better, doesn't it? It's going to be an awkward fit, this one. I don't know quite how I'm going to tighten this up either. And back off again. Maybe we'll get it in take 3. Right, take, I don't know, 5, 4, whatever. I've made a shorter line now. To be honest, these short ones are really tricky. I think it's just because there's less wiggle room. The longer the pipe, the more the pipe can move, can't it? So with this, you've always got to make it absolutely perfect, which that isn't. Can't go any smaller, really. I did not foresee this, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to put you on a timeout because this might take some time. Right, well that was, yeah, painful. It's still not tightened up, but it's in. And I've got a slight bend in the pipe here, but it's not flattened off. This is armoured cable. This is armoured hosing, so it should keep its form. That is going to be a worry, because that's a high pressure fuel pump going straight out into that. I suppose the only way we can test it is when we've got fuel in the system for this specific bit. And if it leaks, it leaks. I'll have to change it. It's not hard to get to because this battery tray obviously comes out. So it is what it is. So I'm just going to tighten all these up and then we can start off with all the other bits then, can't we? But yeah, I suppose in hindsight, what I should have done is mounted this filter at the front of the car maybe, or come out and had a bigger loop round here or something. Not ideal. Right. That's all tightened up. I don't like it, but it's staying for now. I thought I'd be able to get a really nice connection on it, but nope. Everything's tight though, so if it flows the right amount of fuel and that doesn't cause a restriction and it doesn't leak, then it's served its purpose, hasn't it? But it's just not ideal. It's putting a lot of stress on the back of that. Right, I'm going to figure out what to do next. I've got to run 2 pipes to the front of the car and 1 pipe to the back to the fuel tank. So I'll kind of figure out what I'm going to do next and then let you know. Right, so that's how I've decided to kind of have it. So this is going to be the return to the fuel tank, and it'll run with that pipe there. So I'll be able to cable tie them, or I've got some actual proper clips that kind of put them together. And I'll be able to follow exactly the same line all the way back, but this time past the fuel pump to the underneath the boot up here somewhere. I'm going to have to clear all that crap off the boot to get to that. This one, mostly because I've run out of right angles, is going to be a loop right back round and down the back of this tank, and it'll form over the top of that kind of bolt down there, and then come out where the other one does, down there. That's a bit more of a strange route, but that's going to be the return from the fuel pressure regulator or the rail, depending on which route I go. So I need to run a hose from here to the front of the car, and from here, well, the bottom of that filter, to the front of the car. This is the underneath of the car. You can see there's the thread for the other side of the fuel filter. So I need to find a way of routing these that's not going to affect the exhaust or the prop shaft or anything like that. Now you can see on the other side, they kind of fit through a bit in the frame. Whereas on this side, that's the bit in the frame, but that's where the exhaust runs through, so I can't really use that. And then it can run across that chassis rail all the way up to there, where it can come straight up, because the engine comes to about here. So I run both flat up here, and then I'll just leave them probably with a load of space up here. I can make up, but I can't install permanently until I've got my fuel regulator, which is very frustrating because it's not here yet. So yeah, I'm at this like really frustrating point where I want to get on with stuff, but I can't because of parts that I'm waiting on. Whether it's the bits for the welder so that I can weld stainless steel, or whether it's the fuel pressure regulator, which got lost in transit. Very frustrating. But I can't really do anything about it. And I'm at the point where, because I've not got those parts, I feel like the more I do, the more I'll have to undo anyway. So rather than just being able to plumb the fuel pressure regulator straight up, I'd have to make the pipe, then take it back off again to get it back in the vise and make the other bits off, because you can't make it in situ. Had another frustrating day, really. Not been able to get much filming done, not been able to make much progress. Very frustrating. I've been spending the last kind of 2 or 3 hours on my welder trying to, because the parts arrived. I thought, oh, I'll get that done and then I can weld all this, that bunging and things. I have managed to make the hose up that goes from the swirl pot to the kind of return to the tank, roughly anyway. So I've taped that in place there so that I knew it wouldn't move, so that I've got space to weld my bung in and attach it. It goes through a hole down there, comes around here, where I will attach it properly to that fuel hose. I've just taped it in place for now. Goes around there so it avoids the damper. It goes through that same hole that the other one went through. So I'll tape, well not tape, I'll cable tie all them together or put some hose clamps or something on there, and then I've got some fixings that I can put up here, get that out of the way of the rear shackle and stuff. Then it goes through there with that one, which I will cable tie together. Through that, I've taken that other little kind of what would have held the negative of that battery cable tray thing out, and that then goes into there. Now, I did that in situ, which I didn't think I would do, but I thought, well, I'll give it a go so that I don't have to take it all back out again, and it did work. So it's starting to look good. It's just, yeah. I kind of thought for this fuel system, oh, that'll take about a day. But because I've been waiting on so many parts and things just aren't working out, I'm just finishing the second day now on it, which is a bit of a pain, really. So yeah, I'm going to call it quits for now because I'm waiting for more parts. And then I will be back next week to carry on and see what more I can get done. Hopefully the second half of this video can be a lot more successful and we can get everything I need to get done, but we shall see. Good morning. I am feeling, well, actually, no, it's afternoon. Good afternoon. I am feeling slightly better today. Some parts have arrived that I should be able to, it should mean I can carry on. And I've made a purchase this morning of a little MIG welder, a really cheap one. I am limited to what I can do in this garage because I've only got a 20 amp supply in. So I can only use 13 amp 3-pin pieces of equipment, so it's always limited me, and I should really put a 32 amp supply into the garage with a proper industrial plug, but I haven't got one. So I've bought this. How cute is it? It's tiny, but it's got all the settings and everything I should need. I can do MIG welding with gas and without gas. I can do MMA, and I can do TIG welding or lift TIG welding, which is a bit different to normal TIG, but it still would get some nice welds. It wouldn't allow me to weld aluminium because there's no pulsing, but it would allow me to weld mild steel and stainless steel. So I'm going to give that a go at some point. I just need some feed wire. I've not got any. But yeah, so I'm going to try and MIG weld that little bung onto the fuel filler neck. I might just give it a few practices on an old piece of exhaust or something. But basically, I can take this out, which I'm not going to lift everything up now, drill a hole in it, and then weld the bung around. And yeah, we should then start to be making progress. My fuel regulator has also arrived, which is good. So I can mount that up in the engine bay somehow. It's a little diddy one again, which is good. In, out, and return underneath. So I've got to find a decent place to mount that. And then we should be finished with the fuel system, at least up to the regulator. And then when we put the engine in, we can go to the rail. So I'm excited now because I've got parts and I can get going, because I was stuck for a bit. I was trying to wander around doing things, and you know when you don't want to start another bit of the project because you're on a certain mode. So I was on fuel system mode, not wiring mode or exhaust or anything like that. So I wanted to get the fuel system done so then I can forget about that and move on to the next. I have got a little fuel filter on order as well to go between the tank and the swirl pot, or the pump, the original pump and the swirl pot. So hopefully that arrives today or tomorrow and I can fit that as well. If not, that's just a little modification, which I'm not that bothered about. So I'm going to do some practicing with this welder, and then once I've practiced, I will get you all set up on a video and you can watch me weld this bung onto this kind of filler neck. That welder is going to take a while to get used to. I've been welding for a year with a gasless MIG. I've welded with gas before and I used to be alright actually, but because I've having to adapt and come back again, setting up all the gas, and you can't set up a separate wire feed on that welder because it's very basic. It's just amps. As the amps go up, the wire speed goes up. So I like to go with high amps and a low wire speed to get a flatter weld. It won't let you. So you're pumping in high amps to try and get it in, but then you're also building up a lot of wire as well. So a lot to grind away. And I went over it a few times, as you probably saw, to make sure that there was no little pinholes or anything like that. So it doesn't look pretty, but it's definitely leak tight, or I hope it is. And to be honest, it's not going to be submerged in fuel. It's just the overflow. So it's not like it's going to sit in liquid to seep out of any cracks or anything. It just needs to be on there. So yeah, I found the key for the fuel filler neck, which was good. I used fire, which I didn't film actually, to get rid of all the old rubber gasket sealant stuff that someone had put around it. Obviously, it's a known leak point that down the filler neck for rainwater to get in, fill your boot with water. So maybe I did that a few years ago. I don't know. So I'm going to let it cool down and then put it in the car. Now, because I've got that little adapter on it now, I can't get it in through the normal way. So I'm going to have to push it up into place from inside the boot. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's installed. I think that looks all right, you know. Hopefully it works, because yeah, well, we'll see, won't we? It's a vent, if anything else, for that swirl pot, so it's got somewhere to go. It means the fuel swirl pot won't get pressurized, so that's good. So yeah, ticking something off the list, which is good. There are just so many decisions you have to make when you're doing this type of stuff to cars, isn't there? Everything is a choice because nothing's been done before. So it's not like you just buy a kit and the choice is made for you. Everything is a decision. And every single one of those decisions can be the wrong decision or the right decision or a perfect decision or a less than perfect decision. So yeah. And obviously I'm on my own doing this. So every single decision I'm making is mine alone. So I've got no one else to blame when it goes wrong. Unless one of you guys suggested it in the comment, then I'll be blaming you. So I've got to mount this fuel pressure regulator, and I've put all the hoses on it this time, or not the hoses, the ends, so that I know I've got enough room to mount it. I'm limited in the places I can mount it. Let me show you. So here is the regulator. Now, because of this vent here, now that is a boost pressure, like, not sensor, it's the wrong word, but anyway, I suppose it does sense boost pressure and alters the fuel accordingly. I don't need that, so that'll be getting blocked off. I haven't got a turbo on this car. Now, I originally wanted to mount it here, like that, which might still work, a bit like that, but I need to go through the pictures and see how much room do I have for that pipe down there to kind of come up the block, because the block will be like here somewhere. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just mount it here like that, which is fine. But then that's my hole for the exhaust. So one of the fuel lines will be getting very close to the exhaust line, which can cause heat soak or vapor loss or vaporization of the fuel to the rail. So I'm trying to find the perfect place to mount this that doesn't cause any other issues or isn't in the way of anything else. I think this is how it's going to be. I've taken a good 45 minutes to an hour to try and decide this, but I've got an angle on that one, which can go up there and clear everything. And that one will go hug the back plate there and go into that there and keep as close as possible. I just need to bend that bracket to that angle there. I think that's going to be my best hope of getting it kind of mounted. I've looked at all my pictures of the engine. I'll try and include one of like a screenshot that I've been looking at of the engine, and it kind of fits. It does kind of fit here, but then there's a gap here because I obviously cut off more than I wanted because, well, it was on purpose really. I'm going to try that. So I need to take that little stainless steel mount off, kind of squish it in the vise, just straighten it a bit and reduce the angle, and then kind of bolt it into place and see what it looks like. Right, that's now bent, and it does fit really nicely, like that. Well, let's hope there's enough room for that. If not, then I'll have to come up with something else. I've used one of the original holes, which would have been for the steering column if it was a left-hand drive car, and I've marked up another hole to cut for this. So I'm going to put some masking tape down just to protect the area, and then I'm going to drill a hole so that I can mount that like that. Nice, I did a thing. That's all mounted up. And as soon as something gets mounted into the engine bay, it just starts to look better, doesn't it? The more you add, the better it gets, which is lovely. So let me show you. It's all mounted in. I've actually tightened those up. I managed to trap the Allen key behind this as I tighten it up from inside. So that's good. They all unscrew. There's room for every single one of them, which is also good. So that's nice. One will come around here, one will go down there, and the other one will go to the fuel rail, which is very nice. I have now made up the pipe to go from the return, basically. So from from the bottom of the regulator to the swirl pot. It's installed. I did the regulator side on the bench, and I did the swirl pot side in the car. Now, I'm becoming unconvinced that I can do them not in the vise. I have to put a lot of pressure on, and I can see the hose just come out a little bit as I'm tying it in, even though I'm trying the hardest, because I've got nothing to push against. It's quite difficult. Now, as that fitting goes in, as long as it's gone in past the kind of chamfer on the thread, then it should be okay. That's my kind of theory anyway. Because if you imagine how that's like that, as long as it goes past that, like chamfer bit, it should be all right. And they're only moving out a couple of mil, so we'll see. I would like to do a pressure test or something, I think, once I've finished on all the pipe work, to just to see if it kind of fits okay. I'll show you what it looks like and how I think I'm going to route it underneath the car. You can see I just taped it in place where I'm going to put some little P-clips like that. So then that, at the moment, obviously just run underneath the car and up into the old battery tray, where it comes around the side and into that. That's better, a bit brighter. Goes into that. Now, I might see if I can swivel this all the way around so that it's not got that bit of a kink in it. We will see. So the next one I've got to make up is the one from the end of the fuel filter. Now I'm going to run these pipes in the gap there like that, and then up in there like that. It will mean that they are like that at the bottom of the car. Now you can see I scraped away this hole there. I was hoping it was just like a little bung or something, because on that side it's where the wiring goes through, and I've drilled it out and put the hoses through that, but it feels like I'm taking strength out of the chassis when I've already got a gearbox that's not meant for the car and all that type of stuff. So the exhaust will be sitting about here, so it will be lower than this pipe anyway. So this, not like this is going to be the lowest thing on the car. It just doesn't look as good going around the top of that chassis, I don't think. I could mount it in here, but then where does my exhaust go? So yeah, it is one of those things on that one. So yeah, I'm going to attach these to the car tomorrow with some P-clips. But today, the last thing today I want to do is make up the hose that goes from that filter there to the regulator on the inside, as in into the regulator side here. And I'm going to run that up this and across and in. Right, well, I've made up one side of that hose, but from the filter underneath the car, I'm going to need a 90-degree angle. I've not got any left. So I've ordered some compact 90-degree angles. Basically, the one I was going to use, which is 45, it comes down and it would have had to loop back. It would have left about that much fuel hose underneath the car. So I want it to run as flush as possible to the underside of the car. There's no point waiting or wasting time trying to get that to work. So I've ordered some on Amazon. They should be here before 1 o'clock tomorrow. So what we'll do is we'll call it quits for today and come back tomorrow in the morning. I will mount the brake. I'm tired. I will mount the fuel hose. I will mount the fuel hose, return to the tank, to all the chassis by using those P-clamps and stuff. So that's all nicely fixed in place. And then I will, once those parts arrive, make up that final fuel line and then attach both of those to the car, because I can clamp them together. I bought these like double clamp things. Clamp them together under the car and then put some P-clamps in different places and secure it underneath. That's the idea anyway. Good morning. I'm back in the garage. I've done something this morning before I've said hello to you lot, and that is secure the cable from the tank to the swirl pot. Basically, I've just put a little P-clip in on the wheel arch, which I'll show you. So you can see this is a little Allen head there. That attaches to there. Make sure it clears all that. which is good. And then it's cable tied there to the hard line, everywhere where there was tape basically. And then I've done another one up there. So it's not going anywhere, it's nice and secure, and it fits through that hole there. So I'm happy with that. It looks good. Now my next kind of task is the two pipes that come from the fuel pump, the original fuel pump and the tank, run through the back there and into here. However, the prop shaft comes round here, and although it's not actually touching the prop shaft and it is well out of the way, I'd like to secure it on the original bolt hole, which is up at the top, just so that they form a loop and back down again, just so that they're really well out of the way. Now, I've got different securing methods, so I could use two of these together, but I've not got a whole lot of them and I want to use them for underneath the car. So I'm looking at this thinking, could I do something with this? So I bought these and they actually just clamp hoses together. So there's a thread on that side. However, I was thinking, what's stopping me from drilling out that thread using a bolt so that's the bolt that went up into the car, using one that's longer just to clamp them together and secure it like that up in the top of the car. I think that's what I'm going to do next. Drill, even as just a trial really, drill one of these out to take a longer version of this bolt and see if I can secure that, or use that to secure the pipe. If I can, I might be able to use these all the way down the car using longer kind of bolts. So we'll see if that works. So there we go. I've kind of put those together, drilled a hole through the middle and use a slightly longer stud or bolt. So I should be able to screw that in. I might put a little bit of Loctite on that so that it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, I'll try and get that installed. That is now fitted. I removed the prop shaft. I needed to do it anyway, because obviously I need a new prop shaft. I just hadn't got round to it. So I removed it to get better access to that. So I will show you what it looks like. Actually, it's quite a neat solution to get those two hoses out of the way. If you can see that. That's what it looks like. They're clamped together and then bolted with some Loctite to the kind of, I don't know what you'd call that, the top of the battery tray or the back seats or whatever. Well, there was already a bolt hole there, so I've utilised that. So they're now secure and not going to interfere with the prop shaft, which is good. I don't know if you can notice, but I'm trying to do all the little jobs I can do whilst I'm waiting for parts. Hopefully they'll be here before 1, apparently, today, the ones that I need. So I just need that little 90-degree bend, and then I can carry on putting the rest of the fuel lines in. But I'm just trying to kind of tie up any loose ends and get some stuff sorted. Hopefully the other fuel filter will be here as well, so that I can put a fuel filter between the original pump and the swirl pot. I'm going to try and find something else to do whilst I'm waiting for these parts to arrive. Well, I thought what I could do whilst I was waiting for things to arrive is to kind of sort out a solution to mounting both of these hoses underneath the car. I don't need both of them to be there to come up with the solution. So I've done the same again. I've drilled the hole through these, and I've found in my old bolt and nut collection some the right length. So what I'm going to do is drill from underneath the car 4 holes, because I've got 4 of these, and I'll have them there waiting to bolt up those 2 fuel lines essentially. So I'm going to get to drill in some holes. Right then, I've mounted those kind of separator bits, so they should work quite well. Just while I was kind of waiting for some parts and stuff, which the filter has now arrived, so I can fit that next, I was just looking at some of the other bits and bobs that I've got for other bits of the project. So I was looking at the slave cylinder for the RX-8 gearbox. So I'll show you what I've done with it. So I've fitted a new bearing, throwout bearing, to this fork. This is the slave cylinder of a Mazda 6, and it's a certain model Mazda 6. And basically, it ends here, whereas the RX-8 one comes out here and off, so it's a shorter slave cylinder. Now I've put some exhaust manifold studs into the block, and I've made some kind of like tapered washers because I've mounted it at an angle so it can pivot the thing that way, the fork that way. It does seem to want to work, so we'll see how that goes. Basically, it wanted you to, on the Agile Master 6, it's kind of up here, but I wouldn't have enough room in the transmission tunnel, and it's still going to be touch and go whether I will this time, so we'll see how that works. And hopefully that's kind of the slave cylinder sorted. I've got all the connections and stuff to make a flexi line all the way to the master cylinder, so yeah, hopefully that works. Right, my microphone has broken, so you'll have to bear with some bad audio quality, unfortunately. That is the new filter, and it is a lot smaller, and it does fit. Not perfectly, but it's going to work. So I need to come in and cut the hose there and there, and insert this in, and then somehow kind of mount that somewhere. I mean, it's not heavy, to be fair. It probably would be okay without this mount. There you go. That's all cable tied, and that's in. Now, again, I had to do that in situ, so we're going to need to pressure test it or something to check that there's no leaks. I suppose just the first run of the fuel pump and kind of under pressure should tell us that as well. So, yeah, I'm happy with that, though. It doesn't need a holder. It is not going anywhere. They are really, really secure in there. That mount that's up here is holding them, and obviously it's connected to the fuel pump that's just here. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. I think it looks really good. Much better solution. I'm glad I waited for some parts to arrive. Again, apologies about the bad audio now. I can't really do anything about it, unfortunately. Now I'm going to wait for those right-angled pieces to come. And once they come, it should be within the next hour or so, I can make that final fuel line up, bolt it all into the car, make some kind of holders for inside the engine bay as well, make all that look neat, and then we're done. So yeah, I got my microphone working again. So that's a success, isn't it? I've just been getting on with a few bits non-fuel system related, which I'll show you. I'll put the clips on the heater box. At the moment, it's going to stay green. I appreciate your comments. I think I probably will go black at some point, but it's not my top priority. I damaged the paintwork here getting that clip in, which is really frustrating, but I can just get a little touch-up pen or something and just touch that in. I don't think it'll be very noticeable. Same up there. I've put some fittings on this, not screwed them down yet. I've just made sure they fit, and they do. And I've also put some fittings on this as well, because that's how that's going to look. Pipe will run around here and up and get screwed in with some things along the heater box rail, using those screws there and some holders. Finally, the wait is over and the delivery has arrived. The best things in life are worth waiting for, or something like that. I don't know. That's what I needed. So let's make up that hose that goes from, swirl pot to the regulator. Right, that's in and done. And it's mounted to the bottom of the car and it looks extremely good. There you go. That's all mounted up as well. I think that's going to look really, really good. Everything is starting slowly but surely to come together. Well, there you go. Fuel system complete. Kind of. I need to test it. I need to make sure there's no leaks. I need to make a hose up that goes from that regulator to the rail, but that shouldn't be too difficult, and I need the engine to be in to be able to do that. Still waiting on some more parts. I'm still waiting on that flywheel. Apparently it is getting delivered, and it should be here this week. So once that's here, I should be able to get everything mounted up again in the engine bay for the last time, hopefully. Although I do need to modify one of the engine mounts slightly because my oil filter adapter thing is just a little bit bigger than I thought it was, but hey ho. So yeah, bit of a kind of messed up episode, this one, here, there and everywhere, just whilst I've been waiting for parts and stuff, but sometimes it is what it is. With that type of stuff, it's taken me a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I think what we've achieved is a really nice looking fuel system, which hopefully will work because, as I say, I've never done this before, and this is just from what I've researched online of what I need to do, so let's hope that's all correct. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and please comment on the video, like it, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you probably in 2 weeks' time. I think I'm going to release episodes every 2 weeks from now on, or definitely during summer anyway. It just gives myself a little bit more time to make progress, basically. So yeah, I'll see you all very soon.